Where did Agatha get the Darkhold? Right, that's one question that I feel like was teased throughout the series that we didn't really quite get to. Did Billy create this as like a hex? Do we feel like the deaths are a little bit cheapened?
Catherine Hahn's performance as Agatha in this series, where do you rank it in all-time best Marvel Disney Plus acting performances? It's got to be in the conversation.
Welcome back to the after show here on the Breakroom for Agatha All Along. Hit that graphic.
Ooh.
After show.
Wow.
Damn. What?
But a bit flat, but I'll let you say.
This is the after show for episode 8 and 9 of Agatha All Along. Follow me, my friend, to the glory at the end, and Maiden Mother Crone. Yes, a double drop finale, but a single after show episode, and this is going to be a good one, folks. When will we see Tommy? Did Lilia die just for this? And where do babies actually come from? I got a lot of questions, folks. We'll get into that and more. I'm Brandon Barrick, and joining me on the show today, he will never be able to sell his house in Westview. It's Erik Voss.
Yeah, the property value's just plummeting. Too many witch fights.
They should have sold after the first hex, I think.
Yeah,
would have
I know.
been a smart move. Get out of there when you can.
They thought they were buying low, and they only went lower. Yeah.
And also joining us, she's a ghost that's been following me around my whole life. It's Jessica Clemons.
You have to wipe twice.
Damn. Really airing my dirty laundry out there.
I think, yeah, you needed to hear that, though.
I
Thank you for finally saying it.
did. And finally joining us today, he made a living as a child singing in local bars. It's Zach Huddleston.
I knew 2 songs. I knew the early version of Witch's Road and Ice Cream, Ice Cream.
Oh, man. If he had sang Ice Cream, I would have lost it.
I was talking to Eric during the reaction. I was like, I will throw myself through this garage door right now if I hear that ice cream song.
Also, did they auto-tune that boy? He
They
was
did not.
auto-tuned, right?
I don't think he was tuned.
It wasn't bad.
I don't know. He was pretty good. I thought he was auto-tuned a little bit.
I couldn't tell.
They probably stole a little kid from Broadway.
Yeah, he's probably like in The King and I or something like that, right?
Or he's Gavroche, one of the Gavroches, or one of the 4 Billy Elliots.
How do you do? My name's Gavroche.
You set him up for that.
Right.
Not much to look at, nothing posh.
Stop, I almost spit.
We've got Evan and Berg tracking your questions today live in the chat. Most of them will hit towards the end of the episode, but feel free to send them in. Send in those super chats if you got them. And we got to remind you to not forget to check out nerdriot.shop for fun Agatha All Along inspired merch. Eric's got on the Boner Family Reunion
It's the only
shirts.
shirt I wear now.
It really is.
sorry.
The volume of comments that are like, does Eric wash that shirt in
No.
between?
When I walked out of the house today, Kelly's like, you know you came home wearing that shirt. And I was like, just for the shoots. She
Eric,
doesn't know.
we
I'll
need
wear
to
it all day.
propagate the myth that like either you have 40 of those shirts or that we have like 3 washers and dryers in the back of the
No,
studio.
he's wearing the same shirt. We do not. That's why I was like, you
one
should tell
shirt.
them that you don't have 2 because you only
Just
do
the
have
one.
that one.
I just have the one.
You know what happens when he eventually takes it off and throws it on his floor? Mushrooms, flowers.
Oh, beautiful.
That's right. That's right. And it'll come back as a ghost.
What a garden.
And that ghost is just stank. A ghost of stank.
We got tons of Agatha All Along merch. Plus, there's some Venom merch on there.
Yes.
Lots of fun stuff.
A very cool, it's just dropping today, I think, a cool Lady Death shirt. It is a very nice looking
Cool.
graphic. Yeah.
You can get a sigil hat. You can find all sorts of fun stuff at nerdriot.shop. Okay, we got a lot of questions to get to, but first let's do a little bit of a recap of these 2 episodes. Take it, Eric.
All right. Thanks, Brandon. Let's do this. In this 2-episode finale drop, we get the last trial of the road. Jen is able to unbind herself from Agatha, it turns out, did it. And Agatha helps Billy place Tommy's soul into a new body. And it wouldn't be a Marvel finale without a big fight scene that comes in episode 8 instead of episode 9. So that's different. And we get one as Rio wants a body, and she'll settle for Agatha or Billy, and ultimately it's Agatha who goes literally getting the kiss of death.
Beautiful.
But as Billy returns home, he notices some decorations in his room, maybe a broken mug with Kobayashi on the bottom of it, and then it all looks pretty familiar. He realizes that he created the road.
Dun,
It
dun, dun.
would not have existed without his magic inherited from the Scarlet Witch. We find out that Agatha and her son Nicholas in the finale created the story of the road. The whole ballad was a song that they composed. And after Billy's heartbreaking death. Agatha used this as an ongoing scam to convince gullible witches to blast her to take their power. And now, as a ghost, Agatha follows Billy back into the basement where he, initially gets rid of the door and tries to, he turns it into this lovely headstone for the 3 witches that lost their lives along the road, tries to banish Agatha, but then ultimately the 2 of them kind of settle on this interesting teacher-student partnership, and they set off to find Tommy together. And that is the end of the series. No post-credit scene. No Mephisto. Scene. Thank God. No Mephisto.
No Wanda. No appearance of Wanda.
We heard her voice a little bit.
We did.
Yeah, we did hear some voices. Before we get to some of our remaining questions from these 2 episodes, any moments that anyone wants to highlight that really stood out for them, that blew them away, that they found really interesting? Anything that really stuck out?
I thought Agatha coming back as a witch just felt lovely to me. And what I particularly loved about it is it felt like something that they decided early on, and they properly worked their way backwards from it throughout the season to where it really felt like she was trying, even unwittingly, to get to this point, and it felt like this was her destiny, and now she's in her true form. This is
as a ghost.
As a ghost. She is now her Gandalf the White form, and now her story can really begin. So we need Agatha to come back, and I think this is like one of the coolest characters or entities that now just exists in the Marvel world and needs to show up places here and there.
Yeah, that's a really clever way to do it. I like that. Rather than having her exist as a physical, still alive witch who's super powerful and out there doing who knows what. Now she's like this ghost, maybe tied to Billy. We don't know how far, if she can go wherever she wants or if she's kind of stuck following Billy around. But I did like that transition, giving her like the white hair, the more elderly look to her visage. That was fun. Oh, I felt like you had something.
Well, I'll go while Jessica thinks of something. Andor holds back a burp.
No, I wasn't. I was thinking of things.
I mentioned this to Brandon before we started taping. I did like in the Rio Agatha fight some blood, some nastiness.
Yeah.
The death by 1,000 cuts. The little Achilles slice too.
Yeah.
I like it felt like some actual real horror stuff there, right? Like some actual nastiness, which the show hasn't had a ton of. We've seen fun glimpses of, but I appreciated in that, and like really making the death character, scary in that way, and like truly violent. I dug that. Yeah.
Beside Ghost Agatha, I really liked Rio. Just being death. And the different interpretations of how she comes and takes people. For Alice, it was like, hey, I know it's kind of cold as ice for me to just be like, you were a protection witch. Come on, time for you to go now. But she still was like, it still was peaceful to be like, yeah, you did your duty, and now you can go on with peace. You did this, there you go. And then for even like the little boy Nicholas Scratch being like, oh, I'm not gonna come to this baby boy as a skull-faced demon woman. I'm gonna come as just like a nice little woman with a green light.
Yeah.
I
like the twist of not only was Billy the one who created the road, but that the road was never real, and it was this kind of game that Agatha had been playing all this time, and she knew all along that it was all a game, but was still trying to get something out of this. Like it was a fun parallel to WandaVision that I kind of appreciated. I had theories about like Billy had created the role, but the idea that it's not real at all. Like, and this isn't a new thing we need to kind of place in the Marvel universe of, well, where does this realm fit in with like the dark dimension and all that stuff? Like this was never that real.
It is real. Right? Like, people did die
real.
on it.
Sure,
it was a real
yeah.
thing, but it was not, like, canonically a real thing, right?
Yeah, that was, like, a fun reveal.
I have to take more time to think on this, but, like, an argument could be made that's what all afterlives are in the MCU, is that you have to manifest it based off of your own belief system, and then it becomes real for you. Now, the Witch's Road is not an afterlife, but I think it is an example of, like, a realm that kind of can take the form of whatever is in your own mind or your imagination, and the belief system of the Wakandans makes the ancestral plane look as it does. And Valhalla looks the way it does based off of the belief system of the Norse people of the 10th century. So I just like that the Witch's Road could be also part of that belief. I mean, the Duats took the form for Mark Spector and Stephen Graham as like a psychiatric hospital.
Yeah.
So I think an argument could be made that that's kind of the logic that the Witch's Road is operating under as well. Zach is writing down his argument.
So I just want to tease, if we have time, I don't know that we'll have time. I've compiled a list of Zach's currently 9 takes.
You're gonna nail them to the wall?
That's right. That's my
does that mean?
thesis.
Currently not. Is it a threat that it's going to get longer?
And they're not all takes. Some of them are observations. Some of them are dumb jokes. Some of them are gripes. But anyways, okay.
Okay.
What is this?
I'll sprinkle them out. Can I just say real quick, and
Sure.
what Eric just mentioned, I think brought this to mind. Catherine Hahn's performance as Agatha in this series, where do you rank it in all-time best Marvel Disney Plus acting performances? It's got to be in the conversation. It's probably in there with Elizabeth Olsen in WandaVision.
Sure.
It's in there with Oscar Isaac in Moon Knight. It's in there with maybe Tom Hiddleston in either Loki season 1 or 2. But like, she was acting. And this 2-episode finale, we got the full range. Sadness with her son, right? Like evil witchiness, some kind of fun comedic banter. Anger, right? Like we saw everything in her performance in these 2 episodes. But like, where does it sit right now? And I know there's recency bias, but for each of you.
I think there's too much recency bias.
Yes.
But I also think she, out of all of the Marvel characters, showed the least amount of vulnerability. And that's because she was supposed to have this like wall up and guard up the entire time, so it was hard for Catherine Hahn to actually do vulnerable, which I think was only done when she saw the crib and saw the Darkhold was in the crib, and she like backed away crying, and I was like, this was great acting, but I didn't see enough of it to compare it to like the emotions and range that Elizabeth Olsen had to do playing Wanda over the like 8 different movies. But I do think like she stands up there in the ranks. Like obviously she had to play like cartoony the entire time, which is actually really hard to do and be as serious as she was. But if I had to compare her to like other people in the MCU, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be hard to do like that. Honestly, kind of hard with like the Guardians people with the last one, because
I'm just saying like maybe the Disney Plus series.
Oh,
like,
okay.
you know,
Disney Plus series.
If we included the movies, that's maybe
series,
too much.
Top,
yeah.
top 3, top 3.
And even like this
Sorry,
was her,
I was doing the movie.
This was like her second time out as the character, right? You mentioned like Tom Hiddleston and Elizabeth Olsen getting to perfect those characters in a few movies before they were even on Disney Plus, right? She kind of like Catherine Hahn, Zach and I were talking about this, like her as Agatha in WandaVision. Up to that point, most of her roles, I think, had been fairly comedic or like side characters. And then since WandaVision and Agatha All Along, she's kind of starred in a few shows, more dramatic outings.
Yeah.
And so I think it gave her a lot of reps, and she really came hard in this season. And I love the idea that this whole show, she's hidden many secrets. Mainly the one knowing the whole time that this was all not real, but playing it cool. We all knew something was up, but like, I think when you go back and watch the show again, there's so many pointed lines. They showed a couple in the finale, but I think there's even more lines where it's clear that she knows something is up. She knows it's all fake, but she's still playing along because she wants something so bad.
I think she's S tier for sure. And I think if you compare her to what Elizabeth Olsen had to do in WandaVision, Elizabeth Olsen had several years of different Marvel movies, not particularly well-written roles in all those movies, but her task for WandaVision was to just kind of understand what the era of sitcom was, and it was definitely a difficult challenge to like study the performances of Mary Tyler Moore and Lucille Ball and Florence Henderson and everybody. And her sisters, I guess. But with what Catherine Hahn had to do in this show is not just study these kind of like vibes, within the trials, but she also had to like, as you said, Brandon, play a character who knew everything, whereas Elizabeth Olsen was a character in the blind to herself, whereas Agatha was never in the blind. I think she had to still give an entertaining performance, and I think when you go back and rewatch all of her episodes, it all connects, it all tracks.
I gave Elizabeth Olsen as an example. I want to see you try doing it with Loki, because Loki's your favorite show.
Loki remains my favorite show.
So that's why I'm like, don't do WandaVision. I want to see you compare it to Loki.
I think the tasks are completely different, the roles are completely different, and I think the journey for Tom Hiddleston and Loki is a journey of discovery, and like someone like, I'm trying to think, figuring out a solution while the train has left the station, and kind of I'm trying to think of the moment in another movie.
He spends a lot of, especially the second season, as the kind of the straight man, while the crazy world and the crazy characters around him, right? Like, which is its own kind of acting skill. But I mean, I think I can't wait to rewatch this series, just because like for Catherine Hahn to kind of be the one person who knows what's going on, but has to play it vague and obtuse while still being entertaining and still being the center of the show and doing the hands and the line reads and the faces. I mean, I'm really interested to see that again, now knowing what we know about what's going on internally with this character. We should shout out some of there's been a lot of great super chats coming in. Evan and Eric, if we want to call out, and they're probably asking some of the questions we were going to ask ourselves as well.
About the acting.
Yeah, I think one main question that we want to get into today, asked by John Briggs, and I'm sure by lots of other people in the chat, where did Agatha get the Darkhold? Right, that's one question that I feel like was teased throughout the series that we didn't really quite get to, as far as just like, you know, this story about Agatha trading Nicky for the Darkhold. Clearly, that's not what happened, but we also don't see her with it. How are you guys feeling about this?
I guess it's also fascinating. I just thought of this, like that crib scene that you mentioned, Jessica, where she sees the Darkhold in there. Well, we now know that was created by Billy because he had heard that from Jennifer, right? So, like, also, like, oh, that you know. Anyways, of course, that makes total sense.
Yeah, that was Agatha's own external reputation that was haunting her in that moment, as opposed to something she actually went through. Yeah, I wonder if there might have been something edited out of this finale episode, because doesn't it feel like there's a lot of questions about Agatha's first meeting of death in Rio? Was that when she was in labor with Billy, or no, with Nicky? Was that the first time she had really met her? No, it seems like she recognized her.
They knew each other.
She said, my love.
Yeah, and we don't know why Agatha was on trial, other than she learned power above her station. And this was like 57 years after the Salemite trial. So I think the Darkhold, I still am of the opinion that the Darkhold was involved with why the Salemites put her on trial. But I'm just surprised that she was reading a book while she was walking around with Nicky. That was not the Darkhold, though. I think, like, if she already had all the power that she needed, like, she had her mission over the centuries. Nowhere, if she had gotten the Darkhold in between when we saw her in the flashbacks in the finale and then in the time of WandaVision, that, I feel like she wouldn't have needed to keep following this pattern of going witches by witches by witches and stealing their power. I think she must have had the Darkhold, and it was like some kind of deal with death that got her the Darkhold in 1690 or something like that, or when she was a teenager, and we still didn't see it, and I don't know why. I have theories as to why, like perhaps like while they were shooting this, they heard of what the Acolyte was doing and saw that there was another story about two witches who just kind of immaculately conceived a child using sorcery, and they're like, oh shit, that's kind of what Agatha and Death did with Nicky.
Or a Wanda movie got greenlit during post-production on this show, and they're like, we're gonna need the Darkhold for something else.
Oh,
I
maybe.
feel like the Darkhold is, I feel like it not being included is gonna be, behind the scenes is gonna be a big picture, like big Disney call than it was like for the storyline. I think it was like, there's some things that they're afraid to approach in these movies because it's gonna be like, oh, I keep looking at it with the Penguin. Thank God the Penguin exists, because the Batman is not that old, so they can put dates in things. They can show times. They can show these things because there's like no problem in continuity for them because it's so young. But since the Darkhold has been here for a long time and we like pieced it with Wanda and we did all these things, they were like, we don't have time to figure out logistically where to put this and make it sound in this Agatha All Along series. We're just going to take it out. We'll come back to it during the Wanda movie, the next Wanda movie or something.
Or the next Doctor Strange movie or something like that.
It's one of those things that are going to be in that book of time for Marvel where Miss Minutes was like, ooh, we made a mistake. We spilled it all over. The pages are gone.
I think it's pretty clear that Wenwu has the Darkhold now.
Get out of
Shut
here.
the hell up.
But I also, I think in the first episode, right, we saw the library card and there was like a lot of names and dates or whatever. I wonder if she was able to see the Darkhold at one point, but you have to be very powerful to keep it, and you lose it, and it jumps around a lot, you know, to bring in like Harry Potter, right? The sword of Gryffindor, right, can just like jump around. Even if you had it like right there, it's gone now. I think her amassing all that power over the centuries leads to the point of WandaVision where now she has a Darkhold and she can really hold on to it, because you have to be a very powerful witch.
Oh, interesting.
Otherwise, other witches can just like view it or grab it for a moment in time, but then it's gone again, you know, like it's hard to hold on to.
I will say it is odd. Like, I feel this finale does a great job kind of crystallizing episodes 2 through, 7 or 2 through 8. Episode 1 feels like it was from a different show. Because episode 1 now, when you rewatch it, it seems very focused on the Darkhold.
Yeah.
Seems very focused on the question of whether or not Wanda is dead. And if retroactively, we're just meant to look at that as, oh, well, that's why, the spell that Agatha was under is lifted. It's just Wanda has to have been dead. And so there's no other mystery to that. The show continued to address it. And yes, there were times where they said Wanda's definitely dead, but as late as episode 7, Agatha was saying yes, no, maybe. Like, if they didn't want there to be confusion about this, they could have cut those lines out, and then we wouldn't have been asking those questions going into the finale. So I just think, like, episode 1 used to be one of my favorite episodes. I mean, episode 7 is definitely my favorite, but episode 1, those mysteries, clearly were not meant to be mysteries that the show was going to answer.
Yeah. I wonder, too, if, like, they were maybe breaking the episodes, writing them out, and then at some point, Multiverse of Madness is like, we destroyed all the Darkholds in every universe, and they were like, oh, this is tricky now, so I don't know. We have lots more questions to get to, but we want to thank our sponsor today. We're being sponsored today by Dollar Shave Club. If you've ever wanted people to greet you by saying, hello, handsome, nice face, you shaved there, then you need Dollar Shave Club. High quality, but never overpriced shaving and grooming products. And spray.
Why would you spray it on your face? It's
No,
for
I
your
sprayed
balls.
over there. I didn't spray it.
Are your balls over there?
Yes.
Zach's balls are ghosts that follow him around everywhere.
They look like my dead mother.
Hey, you, right there. Do you want a closer shave? You can use shave butter, a translucent shaving cream alternative that softens bristly whiskers and allows you to see exactly where you are shaving. Did Berg write this insanity? What's going on?
Yeah, you know damn
Yes.
well he did.
Berg, I know you're in the chat. You wrote this, you maniac. Hey, you, right there. What are you shaving with? Easy. That's going to be a Club Series 6 blade razor and a Club Series diamond grip handle. The 6-blade razor will give you an incredibly close, smooth shave, and the diamond patterned handle grip will have you giving super precise control because you have that great grip. So get your great grip. But don't take our word for it, folks. Try it for yourself. You can visit their site right now for 20% off, $20 or more, and get your products delivered right to your door. Visit dollarshaveclub.com/breakroom and use promo code breakroom for 20% off, $20 or more. That's code breakroom for 20% off, $20 or more. And remember, however you shave, Dollar Shave Club is here to help you stay handsome. The little kit they sent us had like some nice shaving elements to it and a great little nose hair trimmer that I need to use sooner rather than later.
A pretty boy. Girl.
Be a pretty boy. Be a pretty person.
Pretty patties.
We've got some other good questions.
Yeah. Before we
coming
get to our other questions, are there any other super chats we should hop on?
Yeah, there's lots of stuff. I feel like lots of people asking some great questions. A lot of stuff that we've been thinking about here in the office as well. Kind of off the idea of Rio and Agatha maybe creating Nicholas together. KJ Certified and Kel Photograph both asking about Agatha and Rio, who's Agatha's baby daddy. What do you think? Did we need more about Agatha and Rio together? Did you guys think we were going to get more from the two of them?
It's crazy that the deep makeout wasn't enough. I wanted more. It was also because it's like clearly they were together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Even before.
But it also makes it sound like even when she appeared when the baby was originally supposed to die, it was like, oh, so was your guys' relationship like she pop in, pop out sometimes when a body was about to
busy,
die
she gotta
near
work.
you? And that's the thing, she is working 24/7, she's dead. So like, was it just happening because Agatha kept killing people maybe?
Also, I mean, if there was some kind of like weird magical conception between Rio and Agatha, weird that then Rio would show up to take the kid,
that
right,
makes
and
me
not
think,
and be in an uncomplicated
Yeah.
way for herself. That makes me think there is a daddy somewhere.
I mean, we
right?
did joke about, Bruhapedia mentioned that she was a succubus. And we said that was maybe tied to the Jolene stuff. But if, she may have been doing throughout history. And, at that point, right, it had been about 50 years since the events of Salem that we saw in WandaVision. She was maybe like, I don't know if I want to be this witch traveling around all the time. I should settle down, get a kid. And I'm sure it was easier for an attractive lady to find a fella in one of the towns she's passing through.
So she has powers of
Right.
illusion and
so,
deception. And
I don't think it was necessarily Agatha or that Rio had any part of the conception of the kid. Because I agree that, like, why would she be like, all right, let's kill this kid?
It could also have been the fact that if she did make it from scratch, and it wasn't an incantation, it wasn't a spell, but she did make it from scratch, just herself, there could have been complications with that coming out of the witch, which led to it not being Rio being like, I'm going to plague this child with sickness, but it's like, the baby was originally not supposed to come out because maybe it was something.
That's a great point, because like, why is she so hard up to get Billy? Right, because he's not supposed to still be alive. Yeah. He's a kind of an abomination, right? That's why Rio wants Billy. Yeah, that would be interesting.
And her line read of like, I made this from scratch. Why qualify that if maybe she wasn't trying to use magic before to make a kid, you know?
I think they were just trying to establish his name is Nicholas Scratch.
Well, and technically,
is this a Han Solo thing? That's like, oh, you're by yourself?
No, but you're right.
I think I completely agree. They just wanted to line so it would be.
But it is intentional. Like, what does it mean when a witch says made you from scratch? Does it mean the old-fashioned way? Or does it mean like, I made you?
Yeah, every mommy is making their baby from scratch, technically,
in a way,
right?
Well, what if it's a physical scratch where it's like I had to cut myself with like my nails and then I got pregnant. I don't know what witches do.
It's but famously like Nicky Scratch is the son of the devil, right? Can we at least address that maybe there was a relationship with Mephisto?
Maybe.
I don't like that approach just because it's like I don't need it in this story. But I think part of it was like, Death was going to claim this kid during the labor process. And is there something to this coven of witches only supposed to be producing female offspring as opposed to male offspring? And that's part of why, like, she particularly saw this destiny of having a
She's
son.
a Bene Gesserit. She was supposed to have a girl, and now she's had a boy.
She's like, I left. I chose, and now he's going to be a king. Real quick before you go, I also simply, it could just be a woman that just gave birth to a child, and we don't have to put a male or sperm into the situation. Go off, Evan.
Yeah, I think a well-rounded mom also suggests on Twitch suggesting Rio, Mephisto, some random dude, which I also do like as well.
Wenwu?
Wenwu's
alive.
Is she fluid or body?
Wenwu's been alive for centuries.
Yeah, he was alive.
He was alive, baby.
I thought Agatha literally hated men.
That's true.
But not her boy.
Yeah. Gravy Train GT was asking questions on Twitch. Also sent in a super chat asking, did Agatha drain Nicky's life during birth? Did she almost do the same to Evan Nora during her birth? And then Kyle Alston asking, why or how was Agatha born evil? Could that idea be linked? That, she was always had this power to drain, and maybe that's why they're like her mom.
She has the power to drain, but she can stop herself from doing it.
That's
and
true,
I think there's a difference between sucking the life out of someone and then pushing a baby out.
Yeah, and I don't think she was born with that ability. I like the theories that she could have some mutation that she was born with this, but the context of the WandaVision episode 8 scene is that this is a new thing that she has. And when they started to blast her, that surprised her. That was the first time she did that to anyone. So that was kind of the origin moment. Now, maybe it was something she was born with, and in her youth it manifested as mutant powers sometimes do, but then I don't think she has used that draining power until that moment.
I also think Ghost Mom is like being a little incredulous. She was always evil. That's like when people, there's like a car accident, and they're like, I woke up that morning and I knew something was wrong. It's like, you only know that because you got in a car accident, and now you think you knew something.
Confirmation bias.
Yeah,
right. Our memories alter our past to suit our own beliefs.
Yeah, we can't trust Ghost Evanora.
Indy.
Indy.
Anne-Marie C asking, do you think Nicky ever had powers at all? We see that scene where she's like, just teaching him how to do that.
Which is true. He doesn't have powers.
Yeah. I thought he was, first a minute of me was like, oh, maybe he's like a little demon, because him and that goat became really close friends. But then that goat disappeared, and I don't know where that goat went.
Well, they
and
ate the goat.
I assumed, but I don't want to assume
hungry.
that. Oh, stop it. No, they were fine. They didn't eat the goat.
I thought they were about to eat that goat right there.
What's the goat in the movie The Witch?
Black Phillip.
Black Phillip. I mean, if they didn't pick a black goat, otherwise it would have been too obvious.
It should have been a black goat. I was low-key a little mad that it was a normal goat, but it's probably because they were eating.
Speaking of eating the goat, I think I said this to Evan earlier. Do we assume that the witches that were like interested in Nicholas were gonna eat him? Was that I kind of took it that way of like, oh, you're a lost little boy. Let's help you find your family.
Oh,
well,
my God.
even when they came upon those witches in the woods, for a second I was like, they want to cook this baby.
Yeah, they got out some silverware and just started.
They said, "You're welcome."
I think they were like, "Ooh, lost mother and child. Let's cook."
We got a soup going.
I like that idea because of the whole rumor.
But Lilia said that was a stereotype.
I don't trust Lilia. I don't trust her.
I love the fact that like it became a fairy tale, and Lilia's like, "Oh, we don't do that." And it's like there's some forest witches that straight up are throwing
every
babies
time
in the
a witch
bowls.
found Nicholas, it was like there was a cartoon and they were putting on their bib and they were like, "You lost, little boy."
Can we just, this is coming up organically. Number one in my list of Zach's points. New England in this era dripping with witches. Good God, dude.
That's why they had to have the trials.
They're on foot. So it's not like she's not going from
Yeah.
Massachusetts to Virginia to Kentucky. This entire episode was in like a 5-mile radius because they're walking on foot.
Well, there are only
dude.
3. Wasn't that what she said? And within a 3-mile radius, there's always going to be witchy enough people. So she's just like, we're all. Because I thought it was crazy how, like, the first 3 witches they killed, they were just 3 random witches just hanging out in this little village. She got them to come into the house and eat them or suck their powers. I was like, that's crazy. They were right there, and then they saw them again. Yeah, she was going
That's
off.
why we have less witches now, because Agatha was killing all these witches in the past. And we know the rule. There's always a coven within a 3-mile radius.
I just don't.
And if they were near the Westview area, maybe at this time, if it's true that Westview is kind of this Hellmouth-esque magical force place, there's witches are drawn to that area.
Salem, the Massachusetts.
Yeah, I think the American colonies were made of religious dissidents and people who were forced out of their communities for their weird beliefs. And I think it would make sense that there was a higher concentration of witches
Good point.
in the Americas. Yeah.
Yeah, the Brits were like, get them out of here.
The Bestos on Twitch asking, did Agatha kill witches every day to keep Rio occupied to not take Nicky?
That would be
and
funny.
also kind of expanding on that, Sarah Hatchadorian asking, like, why do you think the witches in the first colony that Agatha went to with Nicky, why did they start attacking her? We didn't see it. How'd she get them to attack her, you know?
That's a great point.
You talking about the one
With
like in that house?
With the
Yeah,
stone, no, the stone
circles.
circle.
Oh. Yeah.
The stone circle was the first
She
witches
said
we saw her
when
attack.
she was walking, and Nicky was like, "Why do we have to kill these witches?" She was like, "To survive." And I didn't know
Probably
if that
said something to piss them off.
Well, I was like, we don't know if that's because they heard the rumor that there's a witch that sucked her entire coven up, and we don't know if that actually is what keeps Agatha living longer. And so that's why I'm like, if she just stepped into those stones, if that's her way of like feeding, that's not feeding. She's like, this is how I live and get to
those
live forever.
stones like glowed too when she stepped over.
Well,
them.
it was as if the protection spell had been temporarily opened up. But yeah, to go off with Sarah Hatchadorian's, so the logic, and we saw it play out in this episode with the montage of through the eras of singing the Witch's Road, she has to be blasted to get her suck on. So like in those initial ones,
Pause.
The initial suck off.
She got to be blasted to get her suck on.
So yeah, with the forest witches and the ring of stones, with the stealing the bell and running through the house, like how are those sucks being initiated?
I think she has to like do something to like threaten them, either saying something really rude. I think she just looks for the weakest of them and sucks them, and the others are like,
they start blasting.
well, how could you do that? Or maybe one of their animals or something like that. She does something mean.
If she started, also if it was just retaliation, like they ran in and she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you" or something. Like, this is stupid, but like if she was like, "I'm also gonna kill you," they retaliate with their powers, and then she's like, "Gotcha."
They walk in the house and she's wearing a sign that says, "I hate witches."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, we
It
gotta
says
kill
bitches,
this."
and
thing."
I'm sorry.
In one of those fights that like kind of takes place off screen as the camera pans away, I think the closed captioning or the voices do say something like "help sisters" or something like that, right?
Yeah.
To kind of so maybe that is it.
She
She maybe attacks one of them
Yeah.
even just physically.
Yeah.
All the others jump on board to help, and that
She does what Darla does when I take her on walks or past dog parks or houses with a bunch of dogs in the front yard. She looks so sweet and innocent, but then she just like looks at them, and those dogs lose their minds and start barking. Where she's just like,
I like that.
she
Darla's
has
the
some
omen.
mark of sin in her brain
She's
that
the
these
Nicholas
dogs can see.
Scratch in this situation.
I think
then,
she is,
right? Yeah.
especially.
Do
based
we
off
feel
of-
like from the moment Nicholas was born and Rio walked away till we see Rio again take Nicholas, that Agatha and Rio had not spoken that entire time? Like that's 6 years of Nicholas's life?
I think so.
Like they haven't seen each other?
Because she doesn't want. She knows that
She
got
doesn't
the
want
time.
Rio around it. That anytime Rio would show up, I'm sure she'd be like,
Boy,
"Oh no."
it also, I mean, a theme that keeps coming up in this series. Talk about the sword of Damocles that came up in episode 7, right? Where there's literal swords hanging from the ceiling. The entire time Agatha is with Nicholas in his youth, right? She knows, she doesn't know how much time he has, but she knows the clock's ticking, right?
And I think that fed her like desire to get more powerful because she's like, if I can get enough power, I can fight death and keep death away.
Because
from
Rio
Nicholas.
doesn't come. Rio comes when Agatha's asleep.
Yeah.
She can't even defend him,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah,
That's a great point.
That's
That's a
the
great
sentence. Evan?
I think any final points about Nicholas and the kind of like Salem episode, or not Salem episode, but you know the kind of flashback episode, because I'd love to talk about the Witch's Road. Lots of people asking
talk
about
about
this.
the
Let's move on to the witches.
Well, and just one last note. I will always be down for a parent-child grifter story.
Oh, jeez.
I
I didn't know what he was
I
about
Going
to say.
down.
I did not know what that was about to
I'm not
say.
always down for dead kids. Prefer to
not
not.
always.
But like going town to
Always.
town,
Yeah.
pulling cons.
A little matchstick
Love
thing?
it. A little, I love her doing the Carney thing of like, this young singer deserves some payment. Like, I love that.
A little Curly Sue spilling the popcorn to get free soda.
It's very
I would
much
watch
Sweeney Todd.
Yes.
Come
I would do
on,
8
boy.
episodes just of that. Man.
How do you do? My name's Nicholas. Stealing the witches is my task.
She said, "Where'd you learn that song?" He said, "I gotta go," and ran away.
A little hat too. Like that's the best song I ever heard.
Evan, that's our costume next year, Evan. You're the little boy singing.
Oh, Evan Nicholas Scratch.
Hey, there's still time. Okay, so lots of people asking questions about the road, like Tony McKell and Robert Penahara. Did Billy create this as like a hex? It feels like that was done like subconsciously. Do you feel like the deaths? We were talking a little bit about this before we started rolling. Do we feel like the deaths are a little bit cheapened? The journeys that these witches have gone through are cheapened. They kind of address it in the show. What do you guys think about that?
Cheapened? What does that mean?
Well, I felt this a little bit that like if Lilia Calderou's entire life's journey led to this moment that was on the road, and the road is just kind of this accidental manifestation of a young sorcerer who's just using these inherited powers to turn his dollhouse components into this like dream world. Does that lessen Lilia's life path? I think we have to look at what the net result is of this show. And the world had in it a very, very dangerous witch who was going group of witch by group of witch, hurting them. And I think if the result of this is to turn that witch into a ghost who can only just kind of verbally taunt you and freak you out, I think then it was worth it. I think that the journey was worth it. If you can reach some own catharsis in Lilia's own life, then it doesn't cheapen it. I think
she forgave herself, you know, by the end of that whole thing.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to talk about cheap deaths? Call up Maria Hill.
Dang.
Right.
Yeah, I think that, Alice and Lilia and even Sharon, Mrs. Davis dying, that made it more heavy. I didn't think it cheapened it at all. I thought, like, whoa, that's intense.
Well,
and, like, that lays a lot on Billy, much like Wanda, who, again, Wanda's powers accidentally killed people in Civil War, right? When she throws the bomb up in the building and kills all those people. And that weighed on her ever since that moment. That was always something that sat on her shoulders. It gave her fear of her power. She didn't understand it.
Yeah.
I think it's like an important moment for Billy, and it made it like super real. And it's like, yeah, you killed those people.
And it's a nice reminder of this magic of which Billy has a ton.
Yeah.
He can't fully control, and there's collateral damage, and right, like I appreciate that. It adds like some danger, some scariness, right? Yeah.
Now, when he went back to the house, and it's been boarded up, so it's clearly someone had shown up to the house since the fight with like Rio and all that went down. The neighbors came by and boarded up the door, and it was like another house, another bad house. And he goes down in the basement, and the doors were still there. Do you think other people found those doors? Like the cops came by, or like the neighbors, and they went downstairs and like, what's this glowing door down here?
Unfortunately,
Could they even open it if they tried?
I think people just chalk it up to Westview.
They're like,
I don't think
more
and
weird
not
shit.
even, like
they're like, this violates the HOA. You're not allowed to have a second basement in your basement.
that, and the fact that it's like no one wants to talk about what happened in Westview.
Yeah, that's true.
And like the last, I would assume most police are like, you know what? I'm not going back to that
That's right.
city.
it's Chinatown style. Forget it.
Yeah.
Forget it, Billy.
Jake.
It's Westview.
It's Westview. And even the citizens, when they watched him leave, they were like, get out. Like, we don't want another witch thing happening here.
That was great too. That kind of like they're all out of focus in the background, but much like when Wanda was kind of like let out of Westview, everyone just kind of slowly walking behind her angrily. Like that was kind of fun. Him backing up in his Subaru as everyone's like, another witch showing up in our town.
I know that they're probably like, oh, here's 3 witches in a backyard battling, but have they ever finally recognized that like, oh, your neighbor Agatha was the bad person for Wanda during that hex, and is also still the bad person now. Do they know that yet? Because Herb's reaction was just, damn. What was it?
He goes, oh no. Oh.
Do you
And
think
then
they
they're like, is it happening again? He's like, I don't know if it's happening.
I don't know. I want to know where Dennis the mailman is with the
where's
pizza with
Dottie?
that creepy library moment.
Also, right, we got in this that like the entire events of episode 1 through 8 or whatever took place in 24 hours.
One day.
Crazy.
Yeah, 24
It's a
hours.
long day.
They
What's crazier? all 3 Venom movies were in 1 year, or this whole show is in 1 day? What's like a crazy
I think the Venom one is crazy.
That's crazy.
That's
Right?
way crazy.
That's
Because at least this
crazy.
is a witch supernatural world, so it's like, oh yeah, time works differently. This is like the normal world.
Yeah, time gets condensed, and no one ever really ate anything either. So I think they drank the
that's true.
wine.
And
But
they didn't eat for 24 hours.
Oh, the
Yeah,
wine.
I
That makes
think
me
you can do
think.
that.
That's funny too, because like the wine, because Billy's the one that's like, you gotta drink your wine. Wanda or Agatha, she dumps it up and it fills up again. It's like Billy's doing it by saying, like, man.
yeah, it definitely all makes sense in that regard. I do hear the concerns that like, well, then what did Lorna and Agatha and Alice die for? If it I think they were going to be haunted by this generational curse, no matter what. And at least with Alice's death, she was able to take control of her final moments and die, giving this protective quality, and who knows what her afterlife looks like, but I think the show properly mourned her, and I think that's what's kind of a bummer, is when you have things like Maria Hill just being killed off and for really no reason in the plot. At least she like served a purpose, and she helped Lilia by looking at what Lorna did as the connection to the Knight of Wands. I think that like gave Lilia more meaning in her life, and these witches all kind of helped each other with their own sacrifices. But with Sharon Davis, she's definitely a casualty who is not a witch, who is probably going to live her golden years. But I want to know who inherits that Benz, because she had a nice ride. And who's going to get that?
Who's tending that garden too?
The garden's gonna die just like her. But Sharon's the one I feel the worst for. But I also do think like
But that was Agatha brought her down there.
Yeah,
That wasn't Billy.
100%. But I'm still like, damn. At least I do feel like Alice got something. I do feel like Lilia got something. Sharon did not. She just died. But
Jennifer got
but
the
that's
most,
also,
right?
Yeah, she got kicked out of Westview. But
I think she was gonna leave West.
But she was able to get unbound
Yeah.
as a result of this. I think this finale wanted to remind us that Agatha has really not been a good person.
Right.
And an empathetic villain, but still a villain. And I think Sharon being dead is evidence of that.
Yeah.
I think that was the show's way of saying, like, no, there is a victory in her death. So it wasn't all for naught.
What I was gonna finish saying was
sorry
that
for
no,
cutting you
not
off.
you. It's Brandon's fucking fault. It's always Brandon's fault. Don't you
That's
ever?
my ability.
Don't you ever think
Interrupting
it's him.
smart women.
Good thing I'm dumb. But I'm a dumb girl. But no, I was gonna say I think that we talked about it a little bit about how MCU handles death, and I do think like even as like a therapeutic moment, I'm like, oh yeah, sometimes you don't want to hear like the bad things, and sometimes you don't want to hear the good things either. But I think this show did a really good job of being like, even if you don't feel like Alice got her dues, like you're like, oh, she just finished this, or oh, Sharon, she died for nothing. It's like, yeah, this is also how death works. And this is how death is.
Yeah.
And I think the MCU has given us different ways to view death, and this is one of the most important ones, is that it just comes.
Yeah,
It
I
comes
would have
for us
found
all.
it cheaper if they
Don't
found
say
a
it like
way
that.
to like
Comes
bring them
for
back. I would think that would be cheaper than actually killing them off.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
Because it stinks.
Evan.
Andrew McKee highlighting one of my favorite moments. I love that rather than dodgy CGI, they went for cutting a literal hole in a
Yes.
wall, painted backdrop
And
with real
Eric
Eric was eating that scene.
I love
Like
that decision.
I love too, like even just at the beginning when Jennifer's like banging on the Iron Maiden and you just see their faces and you hear the noise of it changing, it cuts back to a solid wall. I like that.
Yeah.
Rather than like CGing the wall changing, like that's great.
I
Do
also
stuff like
appreciate,
that.
right? Rio was the one person who could penetrate in episode 1 the Wanda hex and talk to Agatha,
Yeah.
right, within her own illusion. And now she's like, yeah, I can come and go out of this kid's
when she
illusion
was down,
too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, she was making the dirt around her swirl. It's like her powers still worked down there, which was similar to how like Agatha had her powers inside of Wanda's hex, showing how they're both like these powerful beings who are able to still have their abilities even when they're in another witch's
Yeah,
hex.
in high school when the drama club does theater in the round in the cafeteria, she's the goth kid who just walks right through it
Heck yeah.
and doesn't care about this
That
bullshit.
bitch.
And it was an early clue, right, as to the artifice of this whole witch's ring.
And it also felt like Rio wanted to be around Agatha, and by letting this whole thing that Rio also knows this is all bullshit, but letting it just play out, she got to be around Agatha a little bit more. Which
And
is what she
also,
really wanted
Agatha
to do.
had to distract her by
Yeah.
proxy.
So yeah, kind of off of that, Troy Dildine, saying early on the road seemed to know more about everyone but Agatha. Do you think Billy was subconsciously, we don't know the limits of this hex. Was it mind reading everybody? But to that point, Never First Player asking, do we think that ghost of Evanora, was that real at all? Was that all fake, all constructed? And also, Kenzie Kugler's asking how did the time work in there? It was was it actually 24 hours? When he gets home, his parents you've been gone for 24 hours? Did it seem like 24 hours to you guys? Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things here at play.
I mean, every episode for the most part picked up where the last one left off, and it seemed almost to be taking place in real time, other than Billy definitely healed and came back through recovery. So I buy the time dilation. Same. I think when it came to what Evanora, and then for that matter, Jen seeing the doctor and Lilia seeing her maestra, and even the generational curse demon, I think even though Billy built and created the road, I think each witch who entered that road still faced their own kind of past and their own demons, literal and metaphorical, and then manifested certain things. So I think Evanora was a real projection of what Agatha saw. I don't know if it could have actually hurt her, but it seemed to have an effect on her. And then so each witch in there brings their own bit of reality that warps it in a way.
It also makes sense though why she a little bit, because I felt she was a little too cool with her mom. I was if you were that scared of your mom, why at the end were you "Sup, mom? You're embarrassing me in front of my friends." And I'm if Agatha knew that this was kind of a figment, it's I just didn't want to come to terms with it. But I also am whatever, let my mom's weird projection play.
But by the same vein, she would have known the crib and the Darkhold was a figment, right?
But that was only the
still
second
affected
episode,
her.
right? So it was a little too soon.
But she always knew from the jump that it was all not
But
real.
she thought she might have died when she was trying to break through the seal when it started, when she was I need to get out
Yeah,
of this.
that's true. If the magic is powerful enough to create all of this, and it's powerful enough to kill people, we saw that, right? She's still in legitimate danger.
It's good knowing that that was the justification too for her to play around. Is you could still die here. Yeah. So just so you know, it's Inception.
And she is legitimately depowered too, right? That's got to be scary for her as well.
Inception.
Yeah.
Evan?
Also, people asking questions about the other witches on the road. Rin for the win asking if Alice broke the family curse, why wasn't she able to leave the witches' road like Billy and Jennifer did? If that, once they fulfilled their purposes. And also, inversely, if Lilia said Jen is the future, does Jen still think the road was real and that she's the only other living witch that finished the road?
Jen does think the road is real, and I want to hold on to that because I'm that's crazy that she left not knowing that.
Is it not real? It's real in that moment, right?
It's very purposeful to show her crawling out of the ground and flying off, right? They want us to know she's out there.
Yeah.
Right? She didn't just happily ever after. They want us to know she's flown somewhere, right?
She's gonna go find White Vision.
I think I think it's a good question to ask if Alice broke her own generational curse. I think there was still a role for her though going into episode 5 when she blasted Agatha, and I think she was there as a protection witch and was protecting Lilia indirectly because Lilia needed that clarity in the trial that came after that, and Lilia needed to look back through her own history and connect the dots. And if Alice wasn't there, Alice was such an important supporting figure in episode 7, because she was really the glue in a lot of those connective points, and had Alice left the road, I don't know if Lilia would have reached that eureka in episode 7. So I think she was continuing to perform her protective service to her sisters, and that's why she 100%. Stayed.
Is there another meaning to she broke their generational curse by dying without having a child, right? Because there's no one to pass the curse on to?
That's dark.
Well, is
maybe.
it only your immediate family, or does it not work for
I don't know.
If the grandma had another son?
Is it selfish to know that your family has a curse, but then have a kid and be sorry, this is the curse?
Well, she didn't believe the curse, to be fair.
Right. But I think she says she didn't believe in the curse, but she believed in the curse. I mean,
Also, Aaron Reese asking, how do you think Lilia saw past her death? Interesting part of her powers there that we didn't really get to see too much.
Yeah, we were thinking about that last week too, right? How does she know something that's going to take place beyond her? But I think the idea is she can see other people's futures, right? Because she could read. That was one of her abilities. She reads Billy's future, even though she wouldn't have been there when it happened.
To witness it. Yeah. I think she can kind of see other people's destinies to a certain extent. And she knew that just that weird little moment of when she's called a coward that she needs to duck.
But
But wasn't able to tell her more meaningful things than that. It's just like one small way she could help.
Sure. And I guess that's important because like Agatha still winds up dying in that fight, right? But it's like she can't die in that moment. She needs to die later.
And she needs to die by her own decision
Right.
to take the place of Billy and to kind of fix, you know, some lingering issues with Nicky. And it needs to be in this way that like death cannot claim her directly, to where she's kind of transformed into
I think that was still very, and that was, I think, hard into the show, which is that Rio can't take someone. She's like, they have to willingly come with me. And that's why Agatha didn't go into the afterlife. She is a ghost now. It's like, you can die still, but you need to come with me. And it's like, I'm not coming with you. So then you just become a ghost.
Can we talk about that moment for a second? Because when Agatha and Billy are alone in the morgue, right, after Jennifer's gone, and she's helping him put Tommy's soul into a body, she had said, like, she had told Death, I'll get him ready to sacrifice himself. Was she legitimately trying to do that? Or was she, in that moment, is she trying to help Billy for real?
When killing the boy in the water?
Yeah.
You think she was like, not, you think...
Was that all a setup to get Billy to a place where he would want to willingly go with Death? Or was she actually trying to help him and think, I'll outsmart Death later?
I mean, it worked, right? Because
Right.
the next time we see him, he's willing to say, take me to Rio, right? So whatever she did, whether that was her intention or not, she succeeded, right?
Yeah.
I think that was her manipulation. I don't think she was trying. I think by the end, when she took, like, she was ready to have Billy be taken by Death in the backyard. And
a classic, like, never volunteer and expect the other person to be like, no,
Especially
it'll be me.
the person that's been betraying everybody.
Never
every
pick up the check
episode.
first. Don't do it. They're not going to fight you.
You just
on it.
stare them in the eyes on the
No.
date.
yeah, when she told Death, like, it's a waste of time to find Tommy, I think she was telling the truth. I think she knows it's important to Billy. I don't think she really cared. I think she just wanted to get ahead. And it wasn't until Billy threw Nicky back in her head to when she decided to change.
Can I also ask, what did you make of, like, the reincarnation line? Where it was like, I can't just kill him because he'll reincarnate again.
Yeah.
Is that because Billy is so powerful that Death can't just take him?
I
Or
re-
was it that because of this weird
I think it's 'cause
imbalance,
his soul-
it'll
yeah.
create like a domino effect
I
and
thought
keep happening?
I kept imagining in Scooby-Doo, the first movie, where their souls were all in that like essence bottle bowl,
Get James
and
Gunn
it was
in
like,
there.
oh, once their souls out, like it has to find the new body,
Oh,
so he would
okay.
just keep bouncing around.
Like you can't just
But
kill
I
him
don't-
because the soul will escape because it wasn't supposed to be in that body.
unless he, but also again, unless he willingly was like, take me.
Yeah,
Take me.
okay.
But he'll just-
I was thinking it's an interesting depiction. All the bodies we saw Rio claim in these last two episodes, right? It was always right? Nicholas willingly gets up. Alice willingly follows her, right? Like, I get that maybe there are other times when she snatches somebody, right? But, like, we don't ever see her do that.
Or
in
maybe
this
she
series.
doesn't snatch people. I
Yeah.
can see Death playing a game that's like, I can't force you to come. You can be a ghost. That's why she hates ghosts. She's like, it's people that didn't want to come with me.
Oh, it's
I
like
think-
destiny kills you, and I'm just there to make sure that you move on.
I mean, that's how Death is kind of played out in, I can't remember the anime, but there's a bunch of animes that Death plays like that. They're like, we're just here to guide you. I'm not here to fucking take your soul.
Two things. I think Death doesn't like make the offer. I think you're a ghost if you have specific unfinished business left on the mortal plane, which makes it interesting. Why Agatha? What is her unfinished business, right?
It's her son. She's like, I don't want to face him. So there is no
Yeah,
unfinished
so I
business
guess
on the mortal plane.
yeah, perhaps, or like that is like her selfish want, but there's some kind of destiny in how she's gonna be helping Billy find Tommy. The second thing is, I think I read that as the reincarnation line as specifically Billy Maximoff is Wanda's grief persevering, is Wanda's love and grief persevering, and that the reason why this soul spit out of the collapsing hex into the nearby corpse of this 13-year-old kid is just that Wanda's magic is so powerful that when she loves something so much, it's going to find a vessel somewhere nearby. So that's why, like, even if she were to take Billy, that soul is really Wanda's magic living on in some form, and you can't quash that magic.
I like
That's
that
my
explanation.
interpretation.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's right.
I think we all have different opinions, and that's fine.
No, it's
No,
not.
no,
we all
there's
have
one
to agree.
answer.
I'm not a good speaker like Eric. Evan.
Hey, I'm not a good speaker. Just wait
till.
till minute 48 of every Breakroom minute, every Breakroom episode, and you see me spout some nonsense that makes no sense.
Time minute 40. Yeah, you have an alarm set. All right,
Yeah.
it's 48 minutes in. Here we go. All right. Well, as we kind of like start to wind down here, let's look ahead to the future of this series of if it's a season 2, some of these characters. What do we think? When do we think we see Tommy and Billy next? Or Tell the Turtle asking questions about it. Lots of people asking questions.
Yeah.
I had the perfect segue question into this, and wouldn't you know it, I lost it.
Well, I do think,
As soon as it comes back, just blurt it out.
This is maybe more than most of the other Disney Plus shows. It's very much a to be continued ending. I mean, we know the Vision series has been greenlit, and that's the third leg in this triumvirate. Feels like that's the natural place. Do we see, I guess here's the question, do we see Agatha and Billy before that Vision series?
Yeah, maybe on like Daredevil Born Again. No, I'm joking. I'm completely joking. There's no world in which this grounded
Show up in your
thugs
friendly
are gonna be
neighborhood
like,
Spider-Man as animated characters.
Spirit? Is that a goddamn ghost?
Well, we know she's going to be in What If Season 3, probably unrelated to the plot of this show.
Yeah.
I don't think the only other thing I could see them showing up in is Ironheart if they keep going with the Mephisto route. I don't know, because 2025 we already have this schedule out, and I'm like, why the hell would you put her in Eyes of Wakanda? They'd be like, oh, a different spirit.
Yeah.
But out of the entire slate, I don't think it's going to come in Brave New World. Definitely not Thunderbolts. But probably Ironheart. That would be the only one.
If they want to, if they're trying to do a Scarlet Witch movie before Secret Wars, I don't know, but that seems where it would fit in. I've seen people online talk about are they setting up like the Children's Crusade kind of storyline with like Billy and Tommy? I don't know. Yeah, where do they fit in like the movie world?
I don't think it's 2025, but it would be
No, definitely.
And we could see Vision Quest or whatever that series is going to be called 2026. That could be not that far off.
Should they make a movie called Loose Threads, and it's more of like an anthology where it's just checking little 5-minute segments, just checking in on everyone in the MCU, seeing where they're at.
I think that's cute.
You kind of like 101 Stories of Springfield.
For some reason, they're in like Alaska.
Yeah.
I agree with Jess. I think unless they were to establish an Agatha Harkness in the Fantastic Four universe, who's the nanny to the kids, but that's a variant, and it wouldn't be this ghost Agatha. I think, I would imagine the next series in 2026 is going to be Vision Quest, and it would have to be there. Maybe in Wonder Man. And I only say that because there's a possibility. That Wonder Man footage from that look ahead trailer didn't tell us much about like what that show is other than like a Hollywood set story. And we don't know what kind of supernatural phenomena they'll be using to establish that Simon Williams becomes Wonder Man. Is it going to be radiation? Just kind of vague cosmic radiation? Is it going to be some kind of witchcraft or something like that? Is it going to be some kind of alien or technology-based thing? We don't know. And there's a version of this that, that Wonder Man could be like a WandaVision spinoff in that like maybe someone saw the Westview Hex broadcast and like that could make a good TV show. Let's make this Vision show. Based on what I saw, I thought Vision was the star of that show, so we'll call it Wonder Man so we don't have to pay for the rights. And I don't know. She could show up in that, but even that, as I'm saying it, we're at minute 48 and that sounds like a bunch of bullshit.
I think there's more chance to see Jennifer Kale before we see those two again, because Jennifer Kale can just appear literally anywhere and with anything. If we go the comic book line, it could be with any like Midnight Suns member. It could be with any supernatural member. But also if she's just going the route of like a woman, like just like existing by day, I'm a woman. By night, I'm a potion maker witch lady. Like I'm like, okay, so during the day she's just hanging out. Also, she still has Kale Care. So it's like, you gotta get rid of that company. You're being sued by everybody.
I think Pepper Potts buys Kale Care.
The Goop Kale Care crossover.
In the What If episode, that'd been a great
What If, my theory was, this was on my list of 9 things. Jen flies off, just lands at her shop, flips the sign around from closed to open, and just logs in, baby.
She's being sued by literally everybody on the
But she's like, I gotta move these candles.
Okay. What are you talking about? That'd be crazy if she goes back to work in that tiny shop, getting
still covered in mud. Yeah, love it.
Oh my god.
What's wrong with you?
Lots of people, very excited about what comes next, like Bro Obama, The Lich, and Jamie McGarrett on YouTube asking, do you think Billy could help Agatha get back into a body? Place her ghost back into a new body. Is that a season 2 of Agatha All Along? Is that she's like, I'm here to find Tommy, but
I think there's
I'm
gonna
also
be
here
like
to
a
find
little
a body.
cameo, like funniness. It's like she's gonna jump into someone and be like, "Ooh, look at what I can
That's
do."
a fun. I mean,
Casper the
that's
Friendly
the
Ghost style.
Whoopi Goldberg, Patrick Swayze ghost bit is always a fun bit.
I think as they're gonna be going along their journey, they're gonna be doing those things that you love so much, and it's conning people to get money to keep going on their travels. And one of those things is gonna be like doing a fake medium thing, like Lilia, and using Agatha as a ghost.
Or
to move
Beetlejuice, right? Like you make the people dance and whatever. Like,
I don't want like a permanent solution for Agatha back in a box. I like Agatha Ghost. Agatha Ghost is
Agatha?
like a great place to put that character.
It's her best form.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I don't want to see like a permanent, but jumping in a body.
If she jumps into like a cat or the rabbit.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, where's Scratch at?
And I do like that.
Senior Scratchy.
I do like that Billy and Agatha, they're gonna get along, but he still kind of hates her. Like it's a good dynamic, I think.
And she's still not a good person.
No.
She might be a little bit better, but like I still wouldn't trust her.
What did you make of the brooch becoming the Mother Maiden Crone kind of disappearing at the end and it just kind of being like a glowing? Was that just the ghost form of it? To me, it felt like that the figures had disappeared from it and it was now just like a glowing.
I thought it was like she was able to now not. If that piece of jewelry, if that brooch had so much power in it to like, whoever has that one piece, because there's a lot of magic that's like,
But
you just
brought
need
it
an
to
item.
her realm,
Yeah,
kind of.
you need an item from that person when you're doing any kind of like spell or whatever. And I'm like, okay. So now she has the power to take that back. She has the power of freedom to herself as a ghost. Okay. So I don't think she's bound to Billy or whatever. I think she's able to like kind of float around wherever she has as a ghost. And I think that moment was there just to be like, I have it. It's me. I'm fully in tune. But I think that also what's really important about that scene is the fact that once she screamed, I can't face him, it allowed her to grab it. And that's where I'm like, why was that a moment that made you able to now touch this thing physically?
Because we know that had his hair in it, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, that brooch represents Nicky. So maybe it was like just her admitting, being vulnerable there for a moment, like calling it out, like allowed it to be processed.
The spirit world
a little
gave
bit.
it was like, okay, you can take it back.
Brandon Rust 88 asking, if you were to create a post-credit scene to answer one specific question from the show, what would it be? Or, I've seen a lot of people in general saying like, post-credit scenes, should we be having more of them in the TV episode? Should we be having less? We've gone with the trend of having a little bit less. What do you guys think?
Have we been having less?
Yeah, I don't know if
I guess we've just been having less movies.
I think maybe in WandaVision there were a few more post-credit scenes, right? Like think about like the original first 3 shows that came out,
That's true,
right?
that's true.
If there were a post-credit scene that would help me for this is like maybe to go back even younger, see Agatha Harkness as a young girl who befriends another girl who's like young Rio or young Death, just to see the moment they meet, and then a hint at like the Darkhold or how like a life could be manifested to kind of either establish that like they didn't need a man to conceive this child and there's some other process of it, or that like they flipped open to a page of the Darkhold and there is like another witch other than the Scarlet Witch whose job it is to be the Maiden Mother Crone or the Spirit Witch of all of Destiny, and then she's like, that's you, and the little girl's like, huh? And that's just like it. Like I think something to just show that they had met and that they had fallen in love from an earlier age.
I mean, that's a good point too, because I didn't even think about like the Salem 7. They're all the daughters of the Salemites, but it's like we never saw any dudes, right? So this coven must have had some way of making children without permanent dudes around. I don't know. Maybe they got a bunch of dudes shackled up to a tree. Sounds like a great job. Sign me up.
Snoo.
Sign me up for I'll be the dude chained to the tree for these witches. Yeah.
I like the idea that they're like, okay, we used him, now kill him. Get him out of
you
it.
can
Get
kill
him out
That's
of it.
fine.
Throw him.
I
Beat him.
deserve it.
I'll be your Eye of Newt.
For a post-credit scene, I would have liked, I don't know, I would have liked a little tease of like Wanda coming back somehow, or like what that is, even if it's just cutting to Wonder Gore and there's like a little shifting of the stones or something like that, or like a hand pops up. selfishly, I want more information about mom and dad.
Maybe like a what's it called, Sharp Objects ending, and you just push into Billy's room and there's like a morgue Lego set or something like that, then just like the little Wanda opens. Lego just flips off on its own, and that's like just to answer that question of episode 1, like where was that? Like what was? I guess it wouldn't make sense for that to be Billy's, but just some kind of indication that Wanda could still be alive, and then an answer to that question.
Love it.
Could be fun.
You got a post-credit scene you want?
Eye of Newt. I can't stop thinking of Zach saying that. So
I'll be your Eye of Newt.
Can I just quick run through my points of order?
We're out of time today.
They're quick hitters. Man, dead witches, fertile. You drop a couple dead witches in the bottom of a grow house, boom, you got shrooms instantly, okay? I'm just saying.
I thought this was like a Heathcliff thing from Wuthering Heights.
But I do think it's interesting, right? Like a show that was a lot about motherhood, parenthood, right? Like and like there's a historic connection between witchhood, femininity, like a reflection of that, and like stuff like that. I think it's just interesting that she instantly sprouted into like this most gorgeous
beautiful
garden.
Some succulents, some mushrooms.
Is it just because she's 500 years old and like she's got a lot of spores in her?
I did think she instantly died and decayed because it was just like you've been alive for so long that time finally caught up with you when you're dead. Like, and that's how fast.
I also thought it made death sad, and like I think death's own kind of like and feelings manifested.
They pointed
in this,
that the Green
garden.
Witch is about the cycle of life to death and like the recycling, right?
From death
Real
comes
quick,
growth.
just a yay or nay. Comic accurate Wiccan costume.
I liked it. Yay.
3 yays.
It's also very easy, yay.
Yeah.
I like my favorite part of it was how the buckle kind of held the cape. I liked that part.
Yeah, it's
All
cool.
right. I might be.
Evan hated it. Evan hated the costume.
I might be nay.
You might be nay.
But that's not just this costume. I feel
sick-ass
like a lot of
outfit,
comic accurate things. They don't hit as good for me.
I think that this is the only one that hit for me for some reason. I think it's
Get
because
this
it's
guy
so
outta here.
simple to
And
cosplay.
I will say, he looked like comic accurate. Like Joe Locke was like body, face, everything looked like straight
The
out
crown
of
is
it.
great.
giving.
I like how it fits on the back. I also like Rio's crown. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
Rio's little crown at the top.
I was just gonna say, Ghost Agatha looking almost exactly like Evanora. We all turn into our mothers, don't we? Okay.
What are these?
It's a little bit stand up. It's a little bit workshop. Okay, real quick. Another yay or nay.
What do you call 2 witches in a lifeboat?
Okay. What percentage of the audience would gladly take a kiss from Rio / Aubrey Plaza?
Easy.
Even if it included you dying instantly.
Honestly,
That was a nice smooch,
No
too,
tiny
dude.
kiss for
It was
Rio.
intense.
I've taken 1,000,000 times.
Da-
Death by 1,000 tongues.
Who wants? Are you guys familiar with the podcast Song Exploder?
Yeah.
They interview a
Yes.
musician about like the evolution of the creation
I'll
of
say
song.
yes to sound cool, but I've never listened
I
to
want the Song Exploder for Witches Road, where he's just like talking to Agatha about like, so originally all we had was kind of like the first verse, like a little
Oh,
chorus,
that's
and then
so good. That would be an amazing integration sponsorship. That is so.
That's like Beetlejuice doing Hot Ones,
Yes,
right? Get
that's
Agatha
so
on Song
good.
Exploder.
I will say this morning they posted
case you were
the
getting on
latest Witches Road remix on Spotify, which is now Agatha Through Time. Because there's several different versions of Spotify of the different versions of the Witches Road. They're pulling a Taylor Swift. They're trying to stay at the top of the charts.
And then finally, the Tommy origin of he's getting drowned in a lake by
Did
a
I
bunch
kill
of
a
bullies.
kid?
Also, I mean, that is a classic horror movie trope.
That's what happened to Jason.
That's how you get Jason, right? That's a little bit like Freddy Krueger, like a group, like either bullying or angry mob or something like that. That's intriguing. But that might be the body he gets.
That, like, it's not even just like his buddies like accidentally drowning him. It's that like I'm putting Tommy in a body that he's gonna go back to a bad family situation. He's not in a good place. He doesn't.
He said he
have
doesn't
loving,
have
supporting
anybody.
Parents.
Yes.
Like I've got to find him immediately and get this kid out of there.
I like that could be like a dark Tommy that like,
That's
even if
what-
you find him, he may not want to go with you.
That's what I'm thinking
you know?
is gonna happen next. Is like Billy's gonna find Tommy. Tommy's gonna be like, "Fuck you, dude!" Like,
I can't wait.
you screwed me.
That's
It's like the kid wears outdoor shoes by a lake.
We
He
were
doesn't have
out-
flip flops or aqua socks. That's why they were bullying him. They're like, get yourself
He
some
didn't
good
expect to
aqua
buy you
socks.
lake.
Are you
Yeah.
giving a right to this child being bullied for wearing New Balance?
Just what was he
At the
wearing?
lake?
He's siding
Like-
with the bullies. He's siding with the bullies.
Don't wear socks and shoes at a lake.
What I'm saying is they dragged him from whatever other summer camp activity he's doing, ultimate frisbee,
He's a
watermelon
townie.
He was
hunts.
reading
He's
a
a townie.
compass.
He was out there trying to fish for dinner, dude. He wasn't. That wasn't recreation. He was hungry.
You don't go to this
It
camp.
wasn't a summer. It was like a reform
I
camp they
want
sent
to.
kids to.
Yes.
This is
Oh, it's a
good
boys'
place.
camp?
Yeah, yeah.
But
He's a bad boy.
I mean, like of all the things they could
Rich
have
kids
cut
can be
to,
Yeah.
I mean, what an intriguing thing. to
What
get to.
happened there?
Anyways.
As soon as he comes to, he's gonna speed so fast across that water like a lizard. Like,
Jesus,
Jesus,
and
Jesus
just
in
like
those New Balance
push
sneakers.
right through somebody's head.
Well,
Yeah, what if he
Agatha's
accidentally
like-
murders those kids?
Agatha's
Oh my
like 100
God.
some odd people die every minute or something like that, and like
120.
he's picking a body, and like he picked this one kind of thing. So it is kind of fascinating.
That's crazy. I would not choose that life. I also can't swim.
Did
so
they-
I'm afraid.
Can I see the other 119 before I make it?
Yeah, can you show me the other 119?
Did they say he was in New Jersey though? No, right? They just
I
said
don't
there's a
think we got a
boy.
place.
He's yeah.
He's
And
gonna
so
be the
it's
first
very.
character in the MCU that's like in a normal Minnesota.
Yeah.
It's like-
Statistically, Lake Country,
That
right?
could have been Adirondacks. That could have been Catskills. You know,
Yeah,
something
wait,
like
Yeah.
that.
Minnesota's the Thousand Lakes, or is that Michigan?
That's
Michigan.
Minnesota.
That could have been me when I was
Michigan's
4 in
America's
summer
high
camp.
five.
Did you get dropped by a group of bullies, Evan?
You know when they say don't stand on the paddle boat or the when it's
What
moving?
shoes were you
Who
wearing?
says that? Who says that?
That's what they say at Action Park.
Yeah,
Wait,
I fell.
you weren't grabbed by a bunch of bullies, but you might have fallen in the lake.
I fell in the lake.
Okay, yeah, good,
And I knew it
good.
was
Evan's like, I understand what that kid went through. I also fell off a
Billy-
paddleboard.
Billy's like,
Seaweed
there's a
was
kid.
really aggressive.
He's
Okay.
paddleboarding. He's standing. Why is he standing?
Wait, why is he standing in the paddle? Oh, it's shallow water. He's not standing up? Why is he doing
He had too many biscuits at breakfast. He's gonna cramp.
He started laughing while he was drinking his milk. He's
Oh no,
standing.
he's got his iPhone 2 in his pocket. No, it's a.
Oh, God, it's dead. It's dead. Get the rice. Get the rice. Somebody please, that iPhone is too expensive. Get the rice. She's like, what are you seeing? What are you talking about?
Am I killing this boy's iPhone?
Tommy and an iPhone is pretty good.
He's clearly poor. This is an old model. It's a 10 gig. He has barely any music on it.
It barely has.
He's like, I can't play Tapper anymore. There's too much water in it.
The rice.
Am I killing an iPhone?
What a journey this has been.
What a journey! Is there who was the head witch in charge? Everybody.
Oh, yeah, it was
Feels
Is this
if-
for the whole series?
for the whole
You think he
series.
wins
Do it for the whole series.
I still think it's technically by body count it's just Rio for me. But I understand any other answer.
Yeah, I mean, Patti LuPone crushed it the whole season. I think she should certainly get an Emmy nod for it. This will be limited series, right? That's probably listed for.
Yeah,
She should be
which
guest
makes it
star in
easier.
a limited series.
I don't know. Wasn't
She'll
there
be, I think
the
she'll be up
Penguin?
against Jane Lynch, Zaz.
Well, yeah,
Zaz
she'll be-
this season on Only Murders, but
She'll be the second. It won't be main
Supporting.
act. It'll
Yeah,
be supporting.
yeah, it'll be
Okay,
supporting.
okay. So she won't have to go against Sophia.
yeah. But I think, this was Catherine Hahn just
Dude,
killed it.
it's just
this
a clinic.
season.
Just
Yeah,
a clinic.
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, it's got to be her for me. It's got to be Agatha. Yeah.
Agatha wins.
Don't choose something stupid.
Can it be Billy? I mean,
Oh,
the fact that
no,
Billy
no,
made
no.
the road
Yeah,
and
yeah,
comes out
for
like the
sure.
most transformed and still with a future ahead of him.
I mean,
thought you were gonna say her.
Yeah, kudos to casting on this. Like
Dennis.
finding Joe Locke as this character, who's I think had a breakout year on Netflix, but like
Oh.
a relatively new actor and like
Yeah.
someone you got to bring in for the.
Not new at all if you watch
sure.
Heartstopper, which
Well,
is an
and Will's
amazing
saying,
show.
I mean, for an English actor, I never know. I wasn't. Maybe I could on a rewatch, maybe something, but like I never heard any accent slip out. He held on to
he's
that
really
American
good.
accent
He's
pretty
really
good.
The
One
Ouija.
What was the one
one
time? What was
the
the one
Ouija
time?
when he has to do all the
When he
letters.
was trying to talk to Nicholas Scratch
Oh,
for the
because you have to say
Ouija.
vowels.
Yeah.
You got a H in there. I think?
Yeah, you did do it.
Said, oh shit! Ah!
Advertisement.
All the cells are queuing up for the lift. H.
I'm gonna go back and look at that Ouija board scene because I genuinely was like, he's doing a very good job hiding
But he's
that
good.
damn accent.
We were talking about like the different acting challenges on this show, and he had quite a challenge too.
Yeah,
Right? He's often playing the, no pun intended, straight man off of like Agatha or these other characters. He has to kind of be the audience surrogate. He's kind of like the voice of reason in a lot of scenes, and that's not an easy gig, especially when other people are being very big, crazy
think
characters.
He's just been because I also forget that he's theater. He's musicals. He's been doing this shit since he was a baby. And I'm glad that they gave him this opportunity to be like, can you play with the big dogs, Patti LuPone? You gotta stare Patti LuPone. I don't care who I was. If I had to stare down the eyes of Patti LuPone in a scene, I'd be like, I'm gonna fuck up. She's gonna hit me.
Yeah.
She's gonna backhand me.
And Catherine Hahn's over here doing this, and Rio's doing her thing. Yeah, there's a lot going on. And for him to kind of hold down the center of this show,
he did
I
a
think
great
he did
job.
a great
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait for him to be the not even he doesn't have to be the leader of the Young Avengers or whatever the hell, but he'll be the point of view. Like we'll be paying attention to him because his acting was insane. Sorry, man.
Before we wrap it up here, just some final shout-outs today for everybody on Twitch and YouTube. Of course, some resubs on Twitch: Colo APC, Spidey Sensei, Hermes Wormies, Marty F. and Vickers, the Truman FC Calamity, and everyone keeping up some positive vibes in the Twitch chat. And of course, so many super chats that we did not get to, but I'm saving all your questions. We might hit them at a later date. Johnny Utah, Arive, Aaron Reese, CK's Antics, Joey K, Jay, Esther, Cash, Jerry V5, Cass, Nate 616, White Bacon, SM Panther, Barbara Eastman, Kyle Alston, Andrew Kelso, Baz Blood Wolf, Carissa B, Teresa Montoya, Hyption Jones, Queen Victoria, 73 KJ certified, and Just a Weeb. Some classic usernames here.
You said Alabama, Alaska, Arizona. Did you have to do that song?
No.
Oh, what? We're the same. Okay, we'll save that conversation for another day. Let me know in the chat if you guys had to do that song.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for us today. That's it for us this season of Agatha All Along on the After Show. What a great show, folks. Make sure to subscribe to the Breakroom channel right here on YouTube and give us a follow on Twitch where we do videos like this live.
Yes. Real quick. So to recap, and Eric pointed this out in last night's episode reactions, but we'll have a season ending explained coming up tomorrow, Friday on the new Rockstars channel. Full episode breakdown coming out Monday on the channel. Eric's looking at a meme that is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's the Rizzler as Joker talking to Jimmy Fallon.
Now that's some good stuff.
That's good content.
Send us that. We'll put it in the replay.
This is the end of our Agatha coverage, but we're going to do 6 episodes just talking about this meme.
Does he have a gun? No, he doesn't have a gun.
We're so close to being finished with this.
Agatha episode breakdown on Monday. And then, like, in general, Evan, what do we have to look forward to on the break room just, like, coming up in the next week's months?
We're definitely going to do a Penguin recap show when that show's got 2 more episodes. I think we
Penguin finale discussion.
Yeah. We gotta talk Penguin when that's
about the
I gotta make sure the Penguin gets in there.
Penguin.
Maybe we'll talk about the Doom Prophecy show, the first episode.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of treat it the way we've been talking about Penguin, so keep an eye out for that. We might sneak in some assembleds. We'll see. Bring back some assembles.
So long.
And
Zach hasn't gotten a chance to win yet.
Well, he's had plenty of chances to win.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, that last episode's been up for a while. Go juice Zach's votes in the poll.
And we got all this confirmed Disney Plus news for the last 2 days, which is exciting.
Yeah.
We're getting a What If Season 3 end of December. We'll see how we're going to cover that. We'll figure out once they announce like what the release cadence is going to be.
They're doing daily episodes again, according to the press release.
Okay, so you might not see a lot of that on the break room,
Christmas for New Rockstars.
It's just one of us here.
What do you mean? We're unwrapping a new episode every day. It's a gift. It's a gift.
Coming in January, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, baby.
Right.
We'll be covering that, and then
it's like it's January 29th. It's the very end of January.
Yes. And then probably immediately after that, we get Daredevil born again.
Yeah,
so
good stuff.
The future's bright for Marvel episodic content here on the Breakroom and the new Rockstars Network. So definitely subscribe if you haven't already, so you'll be up to date on all that content.
Yeah, and follow @BreakroomNR on all our social channels: Instagram, Twitter, Threads, X, Twitch, wherever you can find us. We'll catch you next time. Latest skaters. Bye,
everybody.
Bye.
Blast me, you bitch.